Hi, everyone. It is Carol C.C. Miller, your positivity trainer, peace activator, and global hugger coming to you today. And today we're going to talk about, well, as we always do, we talk about ways to heighten celebrations and lessen sorrows through a positive focus. And I'm really excited about today's guest. I've known of her for a few years, and we've been friends on Facebook and have met in the past, but it's been recently that I've spent more time with her and gotten to fall in love with her even more than I already was. And we're going to talk about how we can empower our children, empower our inner child to live the best life possible. So welcome, Rebecca Psigoda, and please share, I don't have your bio with me, so just share a quick bit about what you do right now, and then we'll get into your story.
Okay. Hi, Carol, first of all, and hi to anybody here who's listening now or in the future. I live in Columbus, Ohio, and I live with the handsome father of my grown children. The kids are 28, 31, and Mark is their dad. He's upstairs. And my boys are Jared and Jordan. I became an Infinite Possibilities trainer back in 2012. And so since that time, I have taken on a children's program. I'm not sure how much of this you want me to share just in the bio, Carol, but I do work with kids right now from the Homeless Families Foundation. I've been doing that for a couple of years. And I started this youth empowerment version of the parent program, Infinite Possibilities, which has about 2,000 trainers around the world. And so that's kind of what I've been doing for the last couple of years. And that's probably about as much as you need to know about my bio.
Exactly. And Tina is joining us right now. Hi, Tina. And Sami, I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but thanks for being with us as well. And I forgot to say at the top of the broadcast, but I'm a big hugger. So if you're in need of a virtual hug, put in comments where you're joining us from, and after the broadcast, I'll come in and offer some virtual hugs. And I'll also come back and answer comments if we don't address them here, and Rebecca will try to as well. I am also an Infinite Possibilities trainer, and I became trained in 2014, and I knew of the Mike Dooley's work since 2009 was my first event with them. I'm sure I was getting the notes before that. But can you explain just a little bit about what the Infinite Possibilities overall umbrella is? And then we'll get talking about, your background and what brought you to teaching kids and creating the program you created.
Absolutely. Infinite Possibilities is about understanding the truth about life and your own power. It's about understanding that life is really very magical. You are powerful, and that everyone is here and meant to thrive, not just survive. So how do you do that? You learn through the program a process that if you live it every day and you begin to follow the steps, your life becomes absolutely amazing, and you begin to see the changes that you want. And if you really stick with it and do what you should do, you will have the life of your dreams. Mine is better than the life of my dreams, and I've only been involved in it for 5 years. So it is a process that absolutely works. There's all kinds of science behind it. Typically, that's not gotten into in the program, but it's there. And it's about being very conscious and deliberate about what you think, say, and do. Your thoughts become things. They're based on your beliefs, so you begin to examine these things. What do I think about? What do I believe? Does that align with my goals and dreams? Because if not, this process helps you do that. It helps you think about what you really want. It helps you look at the different ways that you can think that through, have your perceptions and perspectives that work, look at your beliefs, manage your emotions, take action steps in the direction of your dreams, the importance of dreams and imagination, having faith. Not a religious faith, but faith in a process that works. Faith in yourself that you can do this like anyone else can do this. Faith that you deserve to be successful as much as anyone. And then, of course, the meaning of life, which is just live it. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be beautiful. You're meant to feel connected. Everyone is loved and adored. And so the meaning of life is be happy, have fun. And
there's
some of that I'll be sharing with the kids once we get
Oh
rolling.
yeah, we're gonna pull those dolls forward if you can in a minute, because I won't make you do your rap song though, but it's pretty awesome as well. But one of the things, I mean, there's so much that I love about the Dooley work and the Infinite Possibilities community that he has built. But one of the things I would say that I like the most about it is it's very non-judgmental. It's very gentle. As we all we can't control life in general, but we can control how we deal with it, because Mike Dooley, Rebecca, myself, we've all had challenges in our life, even after we started the Infinite Possibilities. So it's not about being right or wrong, and you're more wrong than I am because my life is doing quote unquote better than yours right now. It's really about keep focusing on what you want rather than focusing on what you don't want. And it's so very easy. I go there myself sometimes when what I don't want is in my face. I'm giving it more attention than I really want to. And positive focus is truly based all on law of attraction, infinite possibilities. Law of attraction itself is, again, it's neutral. If you're focusing on things you don't want, you'll create more of those. If you're focusing on things you do want, you'll create more of those. So that's why I called it positive focus. But it really is a very gentle step. And I think I fall in love with Mike Dooley a little bit more every day. But every now and then he'll come on his own lives or whatever, and he'll just say, there are people who are living in a more privileged spot in their lives or in the world or something like that. So not to take for granted of that, and to know that we are all on our own journeys and do what we can best to heighten our life. And I think, Rebecca, your story of your childhood, and share whatever is comfortable with you to share, is a good representation of how we can not only overcome challenges, but thrive past those challenges. So would you share a little bit, because you weren't intending to work with children at first?
No. When I began the program, one of the reasons I took it was I knew that I wanted to work with the younger me. But when I was thinking of the younger me, I wasn't thinking of childhood, because this wasn't a children's program. I was thinking of my later adolescent years and things that I went through during that time frame. There were some domestic violence issues. There was, I was part of a sexual assault serial case. And so I was thinking more of those populations. But in my youngest years, my mother passed when I was 18 months old. My father was an extremely abusive alcoholic. Within a couple years of my mother's passing, my sisters were shipped off to foster care. And the rule in my house, the rule I grew up with, our children are meant to be seen and not heard. So we all learned if you were heard, you were going to get hurt. So I was very quiet, basically a silent child. And that's the way I grew up, thinking that if I was silent, I would be safe. And so that's kind of the idea that I grew up with. I would have never worn bright colors. I just wanted to blend in. I wanted to be invisible. I spent a lot of time in my closet with the door closed, just, trying to stay safe. And at the time, you don't realize that someday that's all going to work for you. And I did realize somehow that I could still always see the bright side. And so I think optimism is something that I may have been hardwired with from early on, or maybe it's because of these experiences that
there is research on that people are hardwired for optimism or not optimism. And obviously either one, you can still grow it more. But there's definitely research that some of it is truly innate in our DNA.
Yes. So I think that's part of why I've ended up here, because it's been, I don't want to say easy, but a very natural thing for me to work with children, and especially the population I work with. They are at risk youth through the Homeless Families Foundation. And, whatever it is they're going through, I probably went through it. And so I'm not coming just from a place of education in the area. I'm coming from a place of experience and a very overwhelming desire for the compassion that these kids need, the leadership, the guidance that they need, to know that this is not their fault, that they have as much of an opportunity to thrive in the world as anyone. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons I'm sure I was guided to this population. It is not what I was looking for, but as soon as I landed there, I knew. And I know you know this story, but just briefly for those who don't, I put out on Facebook in 2015, I was ready to work for some nonprofits. And again, I was specifically thinking domestic violence, sexual abuse, survivors. And they said no, they were not interested. And I remember thinking, but I've spent all this time trying to develop my skills at this so that I could go work with the younger me. So as I said I wanted to go work with the younger me, I got a phone call from a girlfriend who said, hey, Rebecca, could you do this with kids? I said, but this is not a kids program. I said, no, but could you do it with kids? I said, gosh, I don't know. And she worked for the Homeless Families Foundation. She said, I tell you what, why don't you come down and take a tour and see what you think? So I did. And I walked in, and the first room she showed me was the library. And there up on the prominent shelf in the library was Mike's book, Dreams Come True. And I thought, well, isn't that curious? And I thought, did they put this there for me, trying to convince me that this would be something I would want to do? And I got goosebumps. And I said, so did you put that there? And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, that's Mike Dooley's book. I mean, I learned this from Mike Dooley. She said, no, it's not staged. So then she said, by the way, come on, let's go meet the kids. So we go up to the cafeteria and we walk in, and I see 80 children at picnic tables, and they're eating and they're laughing, and they're like children anywhere. And I started to get a little overwhelmed. I mean, I'm at the Homeless Families Foundation. I'm looking at 80 children, and I'm like taking on the magnitude of that, and my heart hurts. So she walks me through. We meet a few of the kids, and I get to the far end of the cafeteria, and I turn around, and there on the wall is the cover of Mike's book in a huge mural. And you can see this if you look at the cover picture on my I Believe in Me Facebook page, and it's Mike's book. And I read the words, dreams come true, all they need is you. And now I am crying. Now I'm crying. I'm going, all they need is you. I could still hardly say it because it was one of those pivotal moments that you just know something really big has just happened, and you're not even sure of the magnitude, but you know it's big.
Yeah.
And I knew that I would then be working with these kids. I had no idea how, but as we've learned in the program, we don't deal with the cursed hows. We just make a decision that this is what we want. I wanted to feel as though I was going to be helping these kids, and from there it took off. So if that helps, that's how I ended up beginning the program for kids. And
I love that story, and actually, I want to throw a caveat to that, just for people, whether it's this program or anything, because I'm a big believer in volunteering and I run a nonprofit, Positive Focus, and it's a small nonprofit, has a big heart, but it's a small nonprofit. And I know personally, when people reach out to me because they want to help, sometimes I'm so busy that it's actually easier to say no than to figure out how I can onboard them and have them help me. And even bigger nonprofits, there's still a small staff running them.
Yes.
So often you going and saying, I've got this great program I want to share, even if they see the value in it, sometimes it's hard for them to be able to still bring it on board. And then they certainly have, which I just love, government paperwork and stuff that they need to follow those rules and regulations as well. So if you're going to volunteer, I encourage everybody to don't take a no from an organization as they don't want you. It may just be about timing, or that they're just too busy to even try to get you to help. If you can say how you can help and make it easier for them, then there's probably a bigger chance that you're going to get in the door. But I speak it because when people come to me, I'm like, I want them to help, but it's going to take me too long to figure out how they can help me. And
I,
so,
well, and at the end, I was going to talk about some of my super secret success tips. And one of them is to remember that no equals not yet equals something better. So even in all of those opportunities that I thought were going to be what I was doing, and I was
yeah,
confused about the no, once I landed where I landed, I looked up and went, okay, I get it now. Those no's had happened so that I could get here.
yeah,
Because I absolutely believe the divine knows my deeper heart better than I do. I still have this human processing system of trying to figure out what's best for me, and it goes, no, let me help you. And that's something that we've learned through this program. It's there and it wants to help. It wants
right.
to get within your deepest heart. And so when you hear that no, it's not necessarily anything you've done. It's because something is aligning that's even better. And someone actually approached me after my talk in Santa Fe and said, oh my gosh, that was such an epiphany for me because we just put an offer in on a house. It was absolutely what we wanted. And when you said that, because it didn't go through, it made sense. They went, okay. He said, now I can release that and know that something better is coming.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those little adjustments that we can make within our own mind because this is all about managing your own mind. This entire program is about managing your own mind and therefore your life. Those little tricks and tools that we can carry around with us just help us have more ease about whatever's happening, what doesn't seem to be working. It's working.
Yeah.
It's working for what's in our deepest heart all the time. I believe
I love that example that you just gave about the person who came up to you after your talk. I've moved 2 years ago, and when I went to sell my condo, it took much longer than I expected to. It was a great place in a great neighborhood, and I remember actually asking Mike, and he's like, the right person isn't ready yet. And I'm like, oh, okay. But what I also didn't realize was my next place wasn't ready yet. Where I'm living now, the people were still living here. They hadn't bought their new home to rent it to me, which is right by the lake, which I absolutely love. So when you can use those things to remember, and trust me, it does not mean that in that 8 months of selling my house, I wasn't frustrated. And that's another thing that, Mike, it's like the more that you spend in being positive and happy, you're still going to get upset and frustrated about things that go on in your life, but just don't give it as much attention as you give what you want or what you desire in your life. Can you share then, I want to get into your dolls and your program because as Rebecca said, it really is about, I almost don't want to put these words together, mind control, but our minds are so incredibly powerful, and we forget that we're giving it power by what we say to ourselves and what we say to other people. And so this program, the Infinite Possibilities, really is, they're easy steps, but you know what? Working out is easy. It's repetition and continuing to do it and, stumbling here and there and getting back up. So even though the process is easy, you still have to incorporate it into your own life. And when you have those hiccups of challenges, still stay with it. So I call it exercising your positivity muscles. But share more about your program.
Okay. And by the way, I did want to share, I'm not wearing my glasses, so I can see all these things coming up on the screen, but I can't read them. So if it's questions or whatever, I'm hoping you're keeping note of that because I can't see anything except that there's something coming up that it's a comment. Okay.
So okay, well, I have a question right now from Liz, and it's a great one. How do you manage the monkey mind? And I'm always curious, how do we call it I've heard that term forever, but like, why do we call it a monkey mind? But how do you manage?
Give it something to do. Give it something to do. If you have monkey mind, then you give it something to do. What does that mean? If there's a lot of chatter going on in your mind all the time, then give it a project. And by the way, you focus on what you want, as Carol had said. So you're always going to be focusing on solutions, not problems. So Carol, you've brought that up a couple of times, and it's one of my super secret success tips. We all have 45 to 65,000 thoughts every single day, all of us. So part of what the program is about is managing those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So because they come into mind and it's like, oh, it's really beautiful outside here, I don't really want to work today. Okay, so if I've got monkey mind going on, then I need to give it a project. What's something I want? How can I focus on some things that I can do from where I'm at with what I've got to move towards it? Like, what can I do about that today? And start making a list. Journal if you want to. So monkey mind is not necessarily a bad thing. My oldest son was diagnosed with ADHD. And I told him, oh my God, you have superpowers. And from there, he decided to go take 3 Asian languages simultaneously because he could. So if you give your monkey mind projects, things to work on that you enjoy, then all of that becomes your superpower. So to me, ADHD is a superpower once you understand how to manage it, which means it's very fast thinking. You have lots and lots of things that you want to do, so do them. Focus on, it takes 3 Asian languages at one time. I looked at him like, are you crazy? But it works. And he also does music, and he also, it's like there's all these patterns in his mind all of the time. So he plays with the patterns. And, as you know, Carol, and some of the listeners, he started a successful company in China at 21 years old. So, we never told him there was anything wrong with that. We told him it was a superpower once he learned how to manage it. So the program itself, going back to your question, is it's about understanding your thoughts and how powerful they are and learning to manage them. It's about understanding that your beliefs are the foundation of all of your thoughts and all of your emotions. So look at them, examine them. What's working within them? What's your perception? What's your perspective? What's someone else's might be? And you examine all of those things and you begin to work with them. Managing your emotions. Emotions are one of our greatest gifts. It's like a feedback system. And we can hold on to an emotion as long as we want to, and we can let go of an emotion as long as we want to, because what this entire program is about is humans were given something that nothing else alive on the planet was given, and that's free will. Free will is the power to choose. You get to choose your thoughts. You get to choose your beliefs. You get to choose your emotions. You get to choose what to do about any of it, even if it's nothing. You choose your action steps. And so when you know that, and you be more conscious and deliberate about it, you begin to create instead of react. So, things happen, and we all still react the way we once did before, but we are quicker to respond through our awareness of the program, through our awareness of the work, what we can do about it. We're not victims of anything, really. There are things that are going to happen to everyone in life. What are you going to do about it? Infinite Possibilities has changed the way that I look at what am I going to do about it. And to realize I do have the power and I do have a level of control, and that makes me feel empowered. And so that's what we're trying to do with the kids. Just from the beginning, that they have the power to choose these things. And so from there, they can create and build their own successful life.
Well, and what I like about, so much of it, but even our feelings, like Infinite Possibilities, the work you and I both do, it has nothing to do with stuffing your feelings. It's to experience what you need to and then move on and reach for that better thought. Because I know personally, if I've stuffed a feeling, it usually comes back stronger later than if I just let it play out. And because of, consciously awareness of my feelings and how my thoughts are in a moment by moment, I just don't go into those spaces for very long anymore. But it is a practice. It wasn't like all of a sudden one day I woke up and thought I'm always going to be happy and I'm thinking good thoughts, because it certainly was not true then, and it's not true now. I still have moments, and our negative thoughts are just simply guidance. Is okay, I'm not focusing on what I want, I'm focusing on what I don't want. So it's really, even that is a tool to use.
Right.
When I'm coaching people, when I first start with them, I always tell them, just for a week, pay attention to what you're thinking. Don't say it's bad or good, And when you catch yourself saying something bad, pat yourself on the back, because now you're aware of it. And if you're aware of what you're saying, you can change it, or you can continue doing it. It's totally a choice, but it's when we're aware of how we feel about things and how we speak about things and how we act upon things is when we have the ability to change.
Right. We really can't shift out of anything if we're not aware
Right.
of what's happening. So Diane Collins has a great book, and actually it's what I read before I ever got into Infinite Possibilities. It's called Do You Quantum Think? Diane Collins talks about how all of us are born with 5 faculties of mind, and awareness is one of them. So through our awareness is how we then create our intentions and create our shifts energetically. So the words that we often label positive or negative, or the emotions that we label positive or negative, they do have different vibrational frequencies and qualities. So the ones that lift us up and make us feel good have a high vibration and frequency. Low, the ones that make us feel negative and bad, have a lower vibration, lower frequency. Now this computer is hard. It's a hard surface. It has a very low vibration. It's solid. When we have negative emotions, we try to stuff them. We are actually creating dis-ease within our own bodies. And those negative emotions become illness, tumors sometimes. Yeah. So stuffing emotions is oftentimes how we create these illnesses. So we even talk about that with the kids. And we try to show them through some very simple exercises, a visual display of what happens when you say positive things about yourself. It makes you very strong. When you say negative things about yourself, it makes you weak. I know you saw the muscle testing that I did on stage in front of the audience in Santa Fe. And it's just, it takes 1 minute to show how if I'm pressing down on your arm and you're saying, I am sick, worthless, and stupid, I can push your arm down very quickly because I have removed your strength. You removed your strength by saying that and believing that, and we lowered your vibrational frequency. When you say, I am awesome, amazing, and adored, there's probably no way I can push their arm down because they're so strong. So those are the kinds of things that we like to share with kids, because then they get it right away. And then they know the next time they go, you're a stupid word. They can catch themselves and go, do I really want to say that? Because not only am I inflicting that on them, I'm saying it, which means it's also doing something negative.
It's living in you, yeah.
Or do I want to look at them and go, you're so awesome, I love your shirt today. It's simple as that. And it can make them stronger and healthier by giving that.
I think that's a great example, because kindness, when you give kindness, you ultimately receive it too, because it feels good to help other people feel good. I've seen this meme many times. I've not researched it to know its validity, but there's apparently a culture in Africa. I don't remember what tribe it was, but when somebody does something wrong, they put that person in the middle and everybody starts saying what they like about that person. And I'm like, what if we all did that? Now, again, when things happen that are not quote unquote good, there are consequences. I'm not telling everybody, you go out and rob a bank, I'm going to sit there and say, oh, you're such a sweet person, I love you. I may say that. I may say I love you, but there's still consequences to what they've done. So by no means do I want anybody to think that being compassionate and kind does not mean that there are consequences to poor choices that people make. I do think it's important to know that often, not always, but often those poor choices are because of their life experiences of what has brought them to that moment of despondency. Sure. So share some stories about the kids that you've worked with. How long have you been working with kids?
It's been a couple of years.
Okay.
Okay, here's the most recent one, because I haven't even been back since this happened, because I'm, on break from the conference and that sort of thing. I'm going to be back next month, in a couple of weeks. So halfway through my program with 7 to 10-year-olds, I had a group of 7 to 10-year-olds this last time. I was halfway through and one of the teachers came up to me and said, could you take a new student? I said, gosh, this is kind of a layered program. It's difficult to take someone and, put them in the middle because they've missed quite a bit. And she said, I know, but she's new here and she doesn't talk. And whatever you do, don't touch her, which told me a lot.
Yeah.
So, of course, I got a lump in my throat and I said, yes, of course I'll take her. So she came into the group and she sat off to the side on her own and she was wearing a big baggy hoodie and some baggy clothes and she was hunched over and her hair was kind of like this with just like a little seam down the middle that she could peek through. And she sat through the class and I could see her eyes following whatever was happening, but there's a lot of discussion and she would always just wave her hand and pass, and of course that's fine. You get to participate at the level you're comfortable. And at the end of that class, I went over and I just kind of leaned down and I said, how was that for you? And she looked through that little seam and she smiled and looked at me and she went like this. And I thought, okay, that's awesome. And again, there's so many stories and it's really hard for me sometimes not to cry. So we finished out the class and had our little graduation party and that sort of thing. And she was again sitting off on her own, but participating. And actually her hair was away from her face, which I thought was great. She's, blending in. She's getting involved with some of the other kids, apparently at whatever level. And so as I'm packing up my things, the kids all come up and they're hugging me because one of the things I announced on the first day is, by the way, I love hugs. So if anybody ever wants a hug, I'm here. And you can hug me when you come in. You can hug me before you go. And so, that's something to understand about me.
I knew you were my kind of people.
Yeah. So they all come up and are hugging me. And then I just went back and was putting away my things. And I was getting ready to actually leave. And I turned around and she was standing there, this girl. And she looked up at me. I'm going to try to say this without crying. And she said, I think I'd like to give you a hug. So not only did she speak to me, but she came over and wrapped her arms around me. And I kind of just held her really gently. And I put my head kind of on top of her head. And I just said, oh, honey, you just made my day. That's why we do this work. So I said, I'm going to be back in the summer. Would you like to come back? And she shook her head, yes. So I will have her again this summer, which is great because she didn't get to go through the whole thing. But I don't know how to even describe or explain that feeling because I get all over clumps. It's a powerful program. It helps them feel good about who they are. It's all about who you are is perfect. By the way, you can learn and grow, but you're perfect. You're perfect. You're awesome. You're amazing. You're loved. You're connected. You're beautiful. And, these are the kinds of things that are incorporated in the language throughout the program. So that by the end, I ask them at least 4 times a class, what's the name of this program again? And it's called I Believe in Me. And so by the end, they're saying, I believe in me. And when you're a child and you have confidence, those math scores are going to be there. You're going to be able to read. You're going to know it's okay if you're an artist and maybe you dance better than you do math. All of that is encouraged throughout the program, is your uniqueness, your divinity, your beauty, your talent, your passion. And so, you give them a little bit of that instead of sit here, be quiet, do this, do that, take this test, and they shine. So that's one of my favorite stories. And
Well,
it's the newest one.
you just made my day by sharing that story, maybe my year, because it really, I think people forget. What you've created is incredibly powerful. But at the end of the day, what you're doing for these kids is to look at them and say, I see you and you matter. And so any of us, I encourage everybody to get involved in her program and help children around the world. But any of us has that power on a daily basis to be that for someone and to be that for ourselves, to we matter in this world, you matter in this world. And the coursework changes their lives. But I suspect at the end of the day, Rebecca, just looking at them and knowing that she cares about them is as equally as empowering as is learning the steps on what they can do moving forward when Rebecca isn't in the room with them. But letting people know that they matter is so, so simple. A smile, a hug, a kind word.
Well, you know, there's an exercise we do called the community puzzle. And the community puzzle, you take
I love this one.
A giant jigsaw puzzle, and you can put some words on it. I've put on Infinite Possibilities, I Believe in Me, you know, things of that nature. Happy, Infinite Possibilities and me equals happy, you know, just different things like that. And I take pictures of them throughout, and I get little portraits of each one, and I put it on the puzzle. And so then I take the whole puzzle apart, and they each get a few pieces. And on the back of each piece, they need to write down, like, their favorite thing about their family, their favorite thing about their community, their favorite thing about themselves, probably the most important one. And then they come together and they put it together. And I explain how each one of them represents a piece in the puzzle. We take one piece out and say, well, what's this like without you in it? It's incomplete. And that's the way I see the world. Not everybody's a corner piece, not everybody's an edge piece, not everybody's a middle piece, but we're all necessary in the community and in the world and as part of this giant thing that then becomes the world, people, humanity. So, you know, another one of my favorite stories is I take an orange and I say, how many people were involved in me being able to go to the grocery store and buy this orange? I just went and picked it up and bought it. But somebody had to plant the tree. Somebody had to pick the orange. Somebody had to take care of the tree. Somebody had to put it in a box on the truck. Somebody had to drive the truck. Somebody else had to load it into the store. Somebody else had to put it on a shelf. The woman at the register had to take my money so I could take it home. Every one of those people are equally important in the process of me just being able to have this orange. So, you know, don't grow up thinking you have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, which, by the way, represents 78% of what kids think they're supposed to grow up and do and be. Be you. If you want to plant orange trees, plant orange trees. If you want to drive the truck, drive the truck. You know, if all of us weren't part of this process, it wouldn't work. So everyone's important, every one of us, no matter what it is. And if there's something you're passionate about, do that. Even with my kids, I taught them that, and I said, you know, don't ever worry about the money. Do what you feel passionate about. And they both did, and they're both incredibly successful entrepreneurs. And it has nothing to do with money that we gave them to get started, because we didn't. They wanted to start their own businesses, and we said, great, good luck with that. And they had to go find investors, because we didn't give them anything to start it. We just said, so anyway. And by the way, one of them is in the gaming industry, which, you know, when your kid is playing video games, you're thinking this is probably not the best use of your time. Well, turned out it was. And the other one, you know, I hesitate to share this, but he's in the medical marijuana business. Now, these are not the things that you teach your children to aspire towards. But it is a business, it's big business, and he's very happy and very successful. So, you know, once upon a time, it might have been panning for gold. I don't know. But they're happy and successful because we told them to follow their passion and don't worry about the money.
Well, and happiness in itself is a form of success. So,
absolutely.
There's a person, there's not a picture, so I'm not sure. It's Vomit is asking if we believe in the law of attraction, and that's a big yes. This program is based on the law of attraction. Mike Dooley's work, of all of his teaching is law of attraction. My coaching that I do is law of attraction. Rebecca, what she works on is law of attraction. And I think one thing about law of attraction, because we'll just hit that right now since it was brought up, is I think a lot of people feel like law of attraction is only focusing on monetary things, and if they don't come, then it's not working. It really is as simple as what you focus on, you create more of. There's not a time frame on what you focus on. The Abraham Hicks work, which I love, says you can create a button or a castle. It's easy. But it's what you believe in. Like, if I believe I have the capability of living in a castle in a year or 6 months from now, it's highly likely it will happen. But if I say I'm going to live in a castle in 6 months and I'm like, I'm living in a 1-bedroom condo in Chicago,
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how, and I want to live in Chicago, so I don't see how I'm going to be in a castle, probably not going to happen. So it's really, it's about your focus, and that's why I like to call it a positive focus.
And what I would add to that is, our thoughts and what we focus on is very important. But the other thing that's very important is the feeling that we have, because your feelings actually have, again, a resonant quality. So when we talk about the law of attraction, this is actually science. What you send, you receive. So you are both a transmitter and a receiver. So let's say, for example, you want a loving relationship. You have to give it to get it. And you give it whenever and wherever and however you can. You just give love. Just feel it. Even if you just close your eyes and give love. Send it to the people. I do this a couple times a day. I send it to the people in my family. I send it to the people I love and care about. I just take a moment, go silent, go within, and I send love, like a beam of light from my heart to them.
Yeah.
That's what I want them to have. And I also understand that as I give it, as I transmit it, I will receive it. So, you might say that sounds a little selfish. Well, maybe so. But whatever it is that you want to receive, you need to offer. So whether it's friendship, love in a relationship, compassion, just name it. And it's feelings first, manifestation second. That's the Andy Dooley saying.
We
So
love Andy.
Something you want, you have to feel it. Feel it.
Well, and I want to add to that, because it's definitely, I mean, I absolutely believe in it, but I also want to add, you have to allow it. Like,
Yeah.
Many people that I know, I mean, I'm personally single, that may want a loving relationship and you're out there being loving, but if you don't either feel worthy of having a loving relationship or whatever your block is, you're getting in your own way of it. Other people may be wanting to do it, but if you're not allowing it in, it's not coming in. And that could be health, it could be money, it could be anything. So it's whatever you don't feel worthy of. And a lot of times our unworthiness really is at a subconscious level. And it's not like, you may not be thinking, well, of course I want to have a lot of money, or of course I want to have this great job, and why isn't it happening? It may be old pattern thinking that is still there, and it's not even something that is conscious that you're thinking about, but it may be a pattern that you've been told over and over as a child or whatever. So that's one of the things that affirmations, when people kind of laugh about affirmations, all affirmations is reprogramming your brain into a new way of thinking. And Michael Ozier, who I'm having on next week, talking about, I have him a couple different sessions in the next couple of weeks, but one of my favorite things that he does with affirmations is he's a tall guy, and he has had a weight problem much of his life, and he would use affirmation that looking in the mirror, I am now healthy and fit. And then in the back of his head, he's like, I'm 300 pounds. I'm not healthy and fit. So he would start saying, I'm in the process of becoming healthy right now, but it's a believable stretch.
Right.
Yeah. Like if I were, like, I really don't want to live in a castle, but if I did, if I were to say, I'm so grateful that I'm living in a castle today and unable to get there, I would add, I'm so grateful that I'm in the process of living in a castle.
And emphasizing that with, if you were living in a castle, what would that feel like?
Yeah.
Maintaining that feeling. Because as we now know, with our thoughts becoming a thing, if you're saying it, but that little part of you is in your head laughing and going, no, you're not. Giving yourself a new thought that's about to become a thing, which is, no, you're not.
Yeah.
I did hypnosis training long before I, ever got into this as part of my past. And the subconscious mind is very powerful. We have the things that we consciously think about, but the subconscious mind is probably even more powerful. So, for example, when people want to lose weight, they go to the store and buy all this diet food. Well, if you're buying diet food, what are you telling your subconscious mind? Telling your subconscious mind that there's something wrong with you and that you're about to starve it. And so it takes over, and it therefore then doesn't allow you to release the weight. So I like what you said about I'm in the process of, in Infinite Possibilities, we're supposed to actually go beyond our goal and try to have the feelings that are there. So, for example, that's why I said, what would it feel like to live in the castle? If you fill yourself up with the feelings, it's more inclined to help, project that manifestation quicker.
Right.
So, yeah.
But I think even with the going to where you want to be, since I don't even know why I use the castle as an example to begin with, I've never thought about living in a castle, so I'll have to think about that one.
That's
but
fine.
If that is my goal and I'm trying to get into that feeling place, but I can't because really I just don't feel worthy of it or whatever, then it's to take and that's one of the things again that with Mike's work is to go general. And he truly helped me with positive focus back in 2009 when I first started it. He asked me, I was on a cruise with him, and we were doing the Matrix. Yeah, cruising the Mediterranean with the doolies. It was really a tough week for me. Yeah, it was so hard, so very hard. But he asked me, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, positive focus. And he's like, why? And I said, I want to inspire millions to live their best life. And I was adamant it had to be positive focus. That was my passion. I know that's why I'm put on this earth. And he's like, focus on why you want positive focus rather than positive focus. And it was just a light bulb. And because of that, I have worked with many other people doing similar work to what I do that I respect and that I love, and it allows me to help share their message too. So it's really, if you can be specific, that's great. But if that's specificity, I have a hard time with that word. If that starts making you feel like, oh, how is that going to happen? Then go more general.
Yeah.
Do you have a couple more stories to share?
Oh, let's see. It's so funny because this isn't the part that I was really thinking through. Just in general.
Introduce your baby dolls back there. I would love for people to meet them.
Okay. Well, I can like point out where they are, or if I go get them, the whole pile is going to fall down because I've got them, jerry rigged to stand there like that.
Okay.
That corner is the hero of happiness. I'll just walk back here. So this is the hero of happiness. And the hero of happiness represents thoughts become things. And the way that I teach the youngest kids is instead of 3 key concepts and that sort of thing, they have a saying, one saying that delivers the concept. So his saying is, what you think about, you bring about. And this is Bella. Bella believes. And Bella believes says, I believe in me and I believe in you. This is emotion. And emotion says, it feels good to feel good. And in each of these cases, you always want to end it with, so choose to feel good like emotion. Choose to believe like Bella. Choose to know from the hero of happiness that what you think about, you bring about. This is Akshin. Akshin's favorite saying is, lights, camera, take action. Because she understands that no matter how many times you think the right thoughts and believe in yourself and manage your emotions, you still have to do stuff. So you have to take action. This is dreamy desire. Dreamy desire is dream big. It's good to have a dream and dream big. Dreaming helps kids learn about visualization and understanding that dreams are important. Dreams are wishes of the heart. And so when the divine lives through us, what it most wants is our best expression of self, which means we're following our dreams. We're doing something about them because we feel passionate about. And this is faith. Faith is have faith in that which you cannot see, and it will be. As we just talked about a couple of minutes ago, you have to have faith in your dreams, because as soon as you say, I'm not good enough, or I don't have enough, which is what we just talked about a little bit ago, you now have a new thought that's about to become a thing. So maintaining your connection to what you want through faith is a really important component. And this is the meaning of life. The meaning of life is my androgynous doll. And the meaning of life is to be happy, have fun, see beauty, feel connected, and just live it. It's meant to be lived. And I know that sounds kind of simple, but you know, life is a gift. Being in this human form, having emotions, being able to eat chocolate cake if you want, or you know, these are our gifts. So being human really is a beautiful experience. And the divine has us as humans so that it can experience all of that through us. It wants to experience the five senses. It's source. It doesn't have that without us. So it wants to experience the five senses. It wants to experience the emotions. All of them. This is a short story. I've had both of my hands rebuilt from some things that don't matter. And in both cases, in post-op, I stopped breathing. And so I got to disconnect from my human and be without it. And one of the things that I came back with is it's an amazing place that can't be explained or described because there are no words. But there are also no emotions. There's no five senses. So being angry is a gift. So now when I'm angry, instead of just thinking, oh, I'm so mad, I go, I am so glad I get to be mad.
Nice.
Or sad, or feel grief. These are human elements. We're here to have them. It's part of the human experience. And that perspective shift has really changed a lot of things for me.
Well, I would even think that just the appreciation factor, like, yes, we get the privilege of being angry and sad and disappointed, but by appreciating that, we no longer give our power over to being angry and sad. Exactly. Because we're appreciating the fact that we have that ability. I hadn't thought of it that way. I like that.
And then when you combine that with, and I have the power to choose not to be anytime I want, there are also days where I go, you know what? I am mad and I'm going to be mad until noon. I'm just going to be mad because I get to. Yeah. I get to choose. And again, it's made it so much different to just know that, you know, you're having this emotion, but you only have to have it as long as you want to. And why not just be happy to have it and experience it? What in the world would it feel like with no contrast? Because, by the way, I got to know that when I was not in my human form. You know, we are the contrast. The infinite part of us with the finite part of us.
I think that we would, I personally think contrast is there to help us appreciate more. Because if everything was the same, then we would take things for, at least I like to speak for what I believe and what would be for me. But it would be that I wouldn't have anything to compare a good day to or a bad day, or I can't think of the last time I had a bad day, but bad moments kind of thing. So I really do. It's sometimes when I'm in that contrast and I don't want to be in that contrast, that's where I go is, oh, wait, this person is reminding me of how many amazing relationships I have in my life. Even though I can't quite figure out how to deal with this person right now, it's an example of how many other amazing people are there, or, you know, whatever the situation is. It's giving me a tool to, one, to remember to focus on what I want rather than what I don't want, but it's also giving me the ability to see other things are so much better than what this experience is.
And on the first day of class with the kids, I say, so let me ask you something. How would you all like to be 6 feet tall with blonde hair and blue eyes? Scrunch up their face and they look at me and they go, oh, why not? And they say, well, that would be boring. So it's how we begin about showing them that who they are as an individual at whatever height, weight, hair color, eye color, whatever is perfect. Because where would you draw that line?
Yeah. I personally would like to add a couple inches, though. Just a couple. I don't need to be 6 feet tall, but a couple inches would be great.
And yet, Carol, you are so loved that no one ever looks at you and thinks, I wish she were just 2 inches taller.
You know what? Thank you. I will remember that. That is a good way to look at it as well.
Yeah.
So what's next? Let's go over a couple of quick tips again on what people, because I could talk to you all day long, and I suspect everybody else would like to get onto what's going on in their lives as well. So.
Okay. Some of my super secret success tips.
Yes. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah. No. We talked about the law of attraction already, so I do think that was an important thing to cover. And just, I remember my father saying this as one of the things that stuck with me from young, and that was treat others the way you want to be treated. So when you talk about the law of attraction, I think that's just something important to keep in mind. Whatever it is you want, however it is you want to be treated, just, keep that in mind. And it's a good thing to teach kids at a young age, because at a young age, they're sponges and they will accept that. And I can tell you that that's something that stuck with me since I was a tiny child. Create and develop good habits. This is one of the really important ones, I think. One of the good habits that I know a lot of us got into early on was thinking about things throughout the day that you really appreciate about your day. There's a woman who started a page called 3 Good Things. And it's something that I have the kids do. At either the beginning of the day or the end of the day, I want them to write down their favorite thing about the day, their favorite 2 things about the day, their favorite 3 things about the day, depending on the age. And I think that's an important practice to get into, because, again, you're reviewing what's good. You're focusing on what's good. You are therefore feeling good. You are therefore generating more of what's going to be good. So writing down your favorite things about the day. And that's a good habit. Visualization. We didn't really talk about that, but I know you know this, Carol, and anyone who's in the Infinite Possibilities program understands that every day, perhaps as soon as you wake up in the morning, visualize what you want. Now, I have 2 that I do every day. The first one is what I want that day. So it's about my intention for the day. And oftentimes it's just peace and ease in my work. Sometimes it's just that simple. And then I visualize myself moving through the day, getting things done, feeling a sense of accomplishment, having it all be relatively easy, etc. And again, these are things that we, work with the kids, is showing them how to think about these things that they want for themselves. So you can visualize short-term goals, long-term goals. And again, we've helped the kids get into a practice of doing both. Surround yourself with excellence. Now, this is actually one when my oldest son was 21. He shared with me, and I remember just like my mouth kind of hanging open. But I've shared it with others. There are lots of reasons that you want to do this, and many of them are kind of scientific. Like, if you pick up 2 tuning forks and you hit one and it vibrates, but this one is still, this one will eventually vibrate at the same frequency as the one that is moving. This same thing happens to us with the people that we surround ourselves with. So when you surround yourself with people who are inspiring, encouraging, supportive, loving, like so many are within our IFI community, you become more that yourself. Not only because of what happens in your mind from being in a good habit of being in this space, but also there's a physical shift because of that vibration, because of that frequency. So that's part of the science behind why you surround yourself with excellence. Many of us got into this program and went, wow, I'm going to have to stop hanging out with that person, because that person is always bringing negative Nelly stuff to the party. And, I'm spending time with that instead of spending time with people who are supportive, encouraging, inspiring, etc. We talked about focus on solution versus problems. Focus on solutions versus problems. So whenever something comes up that feels like, ew, ick, you can look at the ew, ick, or you can look at what can I do about it. And when we talk about what can we do about it, always simplify it to this. What can I do from where I'm at with what I've got here now? So what I've got from where I'm at, that's it. No equals not yet equals something better. We talked about that earlier. There are things you're going to want that aren't going to happen And so instead of thinking I'm a failure, think of it as I'm heading in this direction. I know my deepest heart is known. I know that if I just keep heading in that direction and believing it's going to happen, it is. But I also know that I need to allow the divine to assist me in making sure that I'm getting what's in my deepest heart, because it does happen.
Yeah.
Be you. Be you is one of my favorites. You know, you saw me on that stage in jeans and tennis shoes. I really hesitated about that. I went to a store, I tried on 10 dresses, I put them all back and said, these are not me. It's not me. And if I'm teaching kids how to be themselves, then I have to show up and be myself. So one of my biggest tips about helping kids learn to become passionate, confident beings with self-esteem, allow them to be them, as long as it's not hurting anybody or breaking the law. And let them know that's okay. You know, when my son wanted to color his hair when he was 10, he grew it longer than mine and dyed it black. I'm like, it's just hair. I knew it wouldn't last forever, and I allowed him to move through that and not worry about the consequences. And then we talked about the breath before. You know, we talked about breathe.
Yeah.
Finite being, and we are an infinite being. We are a physical being. We are a spiritual being. And when we breathe is when we bring those two things together. So with every inhale, we bring them together, and when we exhale, the very first thing that happens when we become a human being is we breathe. The last thing we do when we release the physical part and go back to source is we exhale. So it's the first thing we do, and it's the last thing we do. So whenever we are misaligned and getting nervous and anxious, slow down and breathe. Align spirit and physical again. Be present and start again. So it's how we compose ourselves.
Okay, 1 second on that one. 'Cause that's one of the examples I always use. I don't explain it that way, and I love that explanation. But, you know, tends to be when we get anxious or frustrated or anything, we're constricting ourselves. So when you take some deep breaths, you're giving your brain and your heart the oxygen it needs to make different choices than the choice you're making when you're constricting yourself. But I love that example of the first breath and the last breath of our life. So that's beautiful.
Well, and that's when we become, you know, the human being is on that, because now we've aligned it. You know, you're clearly not breathing when you're so those are my super secret success tips.
Those are all amazing, and thank you. And the one thing that I wanted to add, and I just haven't mentioned it, we've both been talking a lot about choice, and it's a choice for us to be happy or it's a choice for us to be angry. Now, I'm going to speak for Rebecca on this, and I'm sure she'll agree, but if not, let me know. Choices aren't always easy, so when I say it's a choice to move through your challenging situation with happiness as your guide or with love as your guide, it does not mean that that's an easy choice, but it is still a choice. And some of our most difficult choices are what creates the best outcomes. And Rebecca here is doing amazing work with kids, and that wasn't her plan to do. And I'm going to out you a little bit here, Rebecca, for people who are not sure that they can do something to change lives or even to change your own life. When you change your own life, you are changing the lives of people around the world. So first of all, look into just what you can do for you. But Rebecca has told me that she is an extreme, or was, I don't think you are anymore, but she was an extreme introvert. And when she went through the training the first time, like when there were breaks and things, she wouldn't even stay with the community. And she really, and I don't know if introvert and extrovert, if that's like a DNA issue, which it probably is to some level. I am an extrovert, but look what she has created, because her passion was bigger than her fear of being seen by people. And her passion of helping people was far bigger than her passion, or her, not her passion, her fear of not being worthy of being the one who brings this to other people. And I did not meet her at that first conference because I didn't come till a couple of years later, but I would never have guessed just a short 5 years later that she was that person before. So really, this program is the Infinite Possibilities, or just believing in yourself, whether you do this program or any type of work that is bringing more love into your life and kindness into your life, that you can make those shifts. So, and she was on stage for over an hour with her jeans and her tennis shoes on, talking about how she's making a difference with children. And she did a rap song with those dolls. If I can find the video of it, I will share it, but I think it's probably a private video, so I probably can't share it. But let me tell you, it was amazing. So just, I concur with the tips that you shared. I think breathing is so very helpful. I also believe in being gentle with yourself. You know, life is a process. It's a journey. I certainly make mistakes, probably on a daily basis. And I go back to being gentle with myself. And I truly do believe that it happens for a reason. And I may not know the reason, but I know that there's, for whatever reason, I need to go through that experience. And I have been through like work experiences before that did not feel good at all. And why was I there? Well, it was those contrasts that led me to do the work I'm doing today. So in that moment, I wasn't thinking, oh, guess what? In 10 years, I'm going to be running a global organization called Positive Focus, because that was far from my thoughts back when I was struggling at a particular job. So thank you so much, Rebecca. If you get a chance, there's been some comments that from people who have asked you specific questions. So if you can go back and maybe take a look at those.
Be on your page?
Yeah, and actually, yeah, just go to the Positive Focus page and I will pin it to the top and you'll see it there. So what's next for you?
Oh gosh. Okay. So at the last conference, some may have seen this. I think I got 27 new trainers on board. So part of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that this program is not just me delivering it, and it isn't anymore. I actually have trainers now in a dozen countries. So there are trainers who are picking this up and taking it worldwide. I just got off the phone this morning with a gentleman who is asking me to go train his trainers in Costa Rica who work with orphanages and kids who are abused down there. So we're making plans to do that. You know this, Carol, but I haven't really made any public announcements about this until I was ready, and I'm almost there, but I'll go ahead and share with this group. I am gifting the entire training program in the electronic version to any organization that is a nonprofit working with at-risk youth right now in the world. So if they want it, they need to contact me. There's paperwork that has to be filled out that shows who they are, the nonprofit, etc. And they agree to do benefits analysis work of the kids before and after the program. So if all that's going on, they get 12 hours of video training of me actually training in the program. They have electronic versions of the manuals that we use, both the instructor manual and the student manual, and all the PowerPoints that I use when I work with the kids. So it's basically a turnkey operation. They have to agree to watch the 12 hours of video, however, because I need to know that they're actually going through the training. They're not just taking the materials and trying to use them without, you know, the training that backs all of that up, because, you know, Mike's name is on it, my name is on it. So we want to make sure that they're actually going through the training process. So that's part of what's next. I'm going to continue to work with any of the nonprofit organizations that actually want to be trained specifically so that their staff can take this to the kids. You know, it started out with me just working with trainers, and then I thought, why not go to the organizations themselves that are already working with the at-risk population and offer it to them? So that's kind of in the what next category. And my goal, as Carol knows, I'm hoping to have this in the hands of at least 10,000 kids by my 60th birthday, which is the end of November. So that's kind of the goal for this year. Next year, I would like to move it more into public school system, etc. But I am actually more interested right now in the at-risk population, but then we will move into that. The gentleman I spoke with this morning is planning on a whole community of schools where the schools go into the affluent areas, but then the money that is earned goes right back into the program to take care of kids in that same community in the area where there isn't funding. So, and he's a finance person, so he's got this all figured out and planned,
Nice.
and he wants to incorporate this in. So I'm looking forward to that. That's part of what's next. I have the training program, but for those who aren't interested in that, but just kind of want to get a little sampling of it, I wrote this children's book last year, and it's all the concepts of the program with the superhero squad, and the superhero squad is the iffy kids, which are right back here. So they are all in the book, and you can find that with my name through Amazon.com. And I also have a coloring book, and the coloring book walks through it in even simpler steps. These are all illustrations done by the amazing Debbie Pearson, who I know joined this call early on. Maybe she's still there. And so again, so what's next? I just want to continue to reach more kids. I do want to continue to teach myself because there's nothing like actually working with those kids myself as well. So just expanding the program so that it goes bigger, broader, reaches more kids with this idea that they're powerful, life is magical, and that they should thrive instead of just survive. So,
I love that. And something that we didn't really touch upon, and there's really maybe another time we'll talk about it. But one thing that Rebecca had said a long time ago was about the inner child. So even anybody on this call, if you're struggling or you're having life challenges, even talk to your inner child, that 5-year-old who was told that they weren't big enough, good enough, or whatever to do whatever, and speak from there. And another thing that you said, and it wasn't today, that I really loved, and it might have been from reading your website, was that any child who does not feel worthy is an at-risk youth. So her working with these kids in orphanages and homeless shelters is amazing. And to see the results in, a lot of times people think that if you're in a situation where survival is what you're working at, that you can't even begin to thrive because you're just surviving. And she's showing in these programs and of people who are in survival mode, she's teaching thriving in them. So it is such a powerful tool to use for you personally, for the kids in your life and the communities. And another thing, when Mike started this program, we could both talk all day about it. So I'm going to stop in a second, I promise. But he wanted to go into jails, and when we get trained, and Rebecca pointed out in the training, yes, I coach on this and I do workshops on it, but the intention behind the program was to bring it to underserved communities. So a lot of the trainers go to jails, go to homeless shelters, and work with people who have not been told that they have the power to create a different experience for themselves. And this work helps that. And there's a gentleman who's part of the program named Norberto who works, I don't know if he still works there or not, but works at a maximum, he's in charge of a maximum security wing at a prison in Florida. And he has been instrumental with Mike on getting this program into prisons and seeing results from that as well. So, it's really a powerful tool to believe in yourself. When you're able to believe in yourself, infinite possibilities happen. When you don't have that belief in yourself, then you're slowing down the process of allowing possibilities in. So thank you, Rebecca. Next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, currently I don't know who I am speaking to, but I promise you whether it's just me or a guest, it will be ways to heighten your celebrations and lessen your sorrows. On Thursday, I have Michael Lozzi joining me on June 1st, and we're talking about the emotion code. And it goes hand in hand. He's a law of attraction teacher. I know him well, a great guy, just like Mike. And he has practical tools on teaching law of attraction too. The emotion code helps with those blocked emotions that maybe from when something happened to you at the age of 5 that you haven't released. So it's a book by, I don't remember the author's name, but we'll be discussing that. And there's a whole way that helps you to live a more fulfilled life too. that's what's going on here. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for joining us. I will get into comments and give some virtual hugs. And remember, you matter. You matter to me. You matter to you. And most importantly, you matter to the world. Actually, most importantly, you matter to you. You matter to the world too. It's like end the program with. So have a great day and we'll talk very soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Carol. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.